So, is there another pandemic in the United States that's being mishandled currently? It seems that the rollout in response to the outbreak of monkeypox in the United States might fit that bill. There are many cases of monkeypox, tens of thousands of cases of monkeypox, and only now is the Biden administration seeming to have ordered vaccines in response. So the Biden administration will be sending out tens of thousands of vaccine doses to clinics nationwide in an effort to control a record US monkeypox outbreak that many experts say is far larger than the official count of 306 cases officials announced on Tuesday. I misspoke, I said tens of thousands, we're talking hundreds. We got tens of thousands of vaccines. One thing to know about monkeypox, it is sexually transmitted, and it seems to be particularly affecting people, men who have sex with other men, which of course I'm sure will be a great opportunity for the right to ignore it and blame gay people. Tight. Luckily, at least our government currently does not fall under that bill. So the US Department of Health and Human Services will send 56,000 doses of Jynneos vaccine immediately to areas affected with high transmission. An additional 240,000 doses will be distributed over the next few weeks, with even more to come this summer and fall. Officials expect to make at least 1.6 million doses available by the end of the fall, which is great. And interestingly, this vaccine works a little bit differently. So let's read more about it. It is a two-dose Jynneos vaccine. It's been approved by the Food and Drug Administration, and it not only prevents infection, but it can be used to stop an infection after a person is exposed. Rochelle Walensky, head of the CDC, said that people should get vaccinated within 2 weeks of exposure, but that the vaccine works better the sooner it's given, and the doses are given 28 days apart. Now, it is important to know that the fatality associated with monkeypox is far lower than other kinds of pandemics like COVID-19. A lot of symptoms can disappear on their own within a few weeks, but for those who are immunocompromised, people who are pregnant, people with weak any kind of like lung issues, pre-existing conditions, etc., they can have complications and possibly die. Looking at the states with the highest number of cases is California, New York, Illinois, and Florida, as well as Washington, D.C., according to the latest count from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. New York City and Washington, D.C. were among the first cities to begin vaccinating at-risk groups for monkeypox, including men who have sex with men, reporting multiple partners or at least one anonymous partner within 14 days. With just 1,000 doses from the CDC to distribute at one clinic, New York, which began administering shots on June 23rd, quickly ran out. So this is the thing, it might sound like it's a lot of vaccines, but many public health experts and officials are saying, this is not enough. Like this will quickly spread. And again, because viruses are not homophobic, this can and will and does spread to people outside of people who have sex, men who have sex with men. So just remember that if public health experts are sounding the alarms on this, that it is far more widespread, we should really pay attention. So I just want to jump down to the National Coalition of STD Directors. They put out this tweet saying, our perspective, we've already lost control of this outbreak. We think there are many more cases and we need to act now to get control of the outbreak. So I wanted to go to this Washington Post piece about it. The administration initially limited the testing on monkeypox to several dozen public health laboratories, which some patients and physicians blame for delays in getting results. Experts also warned that the strategy hampered early detection of some infections and led to additional spread, raising the likelihood of the virus, which has repeatedly emerged in Central and West Africa for decades, becoming endemic in the United States too. So less funding, not enough testing. Where have we seen this before? This is, it is so predictable that we are not only going to have things like COVID-19, but then monkeypox and what's the next thing, like it is going to keep going until we have a public health infrastructure in this country that is actually robust and actually universal, until we are funding things like vaccines and public health more than we are funding the military right now, which is not keeping us safe.
What does that do with fear, though, Francesca? We have to fund things that we're afraid that we're gonna make sure we think will stop our fears, but there's always more there. I was concerned about this because a couple months ago, even when this whole started, when President Biden mentioned it, and I think he had a little press conference, he pointed out, hey, there's like single number of cases. And he pointed out, I think it was Florida where the first couple of cases were, and maybe one, maybe Illinois, possibly, if I remember correctly. But that was the beginnings, and then it's so quick and easy to go, oh yeah, that's right, 3 cases, whew. That's something that it's an endemic in another country somewhere else, whole region in the world somewhere else. So no, it doesn't affect us. And that's how you end up with hundreds of cases, potentially more that haven't even been accounted for. Because then, as you pointed out, it's like Groundhog Day, that old movie, we keep seeing the same thing happen over and over and over again. And I was worried that because there's still the vaccine fatigue, or there's still the societal factors of, hey, we shouldn't be listening to experts and scientists and people that talk about how spreads of diseases and viruses actually happen. We're still on that feel. I was hoping that it wouldn't go to that route, which I don't think it's really been the case. It just kind of hasn't been talked about. And then limited number of testing, as you pointed there. Again, maybe because there was this assumption, yeah, it's not really happening. And there's that same mistake again. And the only thing that comes lucky from this is that, as you pointed out, it's just not as easily transmissible, not from the same means transmissible through folks, but it still transmits.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's important to call it out. I mean, kudos to the public health officials who are saying, and experts who are like calling the administration out. Like, you were late on it, and who knows? What if it explodes? You don't want this again on your hands. It's not, but how easily we can ignore it if it's not affecting us.
I wonder if they were afraid of people's response if they took it more seriously and be like, well, we don't want to have to get pushback from us talking about vaccines for something else.
Of course.
It's just, that's my question, only because we've seen the fear of the Democratic Party when they're in power, specifically this establishment wing of it, and their concerns about people being like, you guys suck. Like, okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh, exactly. No, of course. Oh, we've had enough about pandemics. We're gonna ignore the next one. The following we'll pay attention to.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.